Alright, good morning everyone. My name is Branko Boras and with Enersource Hydro, so I'll give you a brief overview of the connection process. I try to keep it compact so it leaves more room for you guys to ask any questions you have regarding whether it's FIT or microfit projects. If I'm not talking loud enough, I know in the past, I've been accused of that, so I need to raise my voice. Okay. So just throw something at me if I don't make sense. Alright, so the agenda for today is to talk about two most important things, is the microfit projects and the FIT projects. And also we'll cover a little bit about the new stream and FIT program called Commercial FIT, what the OPA calls it CFIT. So microfit, as you know, it's all the projects that are 10 kilowatt or less. It's designed for small commercial and residential customers. We currently have about 213 projects in the city of Mississauga. And as most of you know, it's 99% of them are mostly solar PV. We have very few wind projects. Out of those 213 projects, we have 25 projects that have received their microfit contracts, and we're currently, giving microfit payments to those customers based on their microfit contract terms. We also have 26 projects that are pending approval, and they're in a different stages of the approval, whether we're reviewing their drawings, so we're going through a service disconnect, or it's pending connection. And also we have 162 projects that are at the different stages in planning, meaning we don't have much information from the customer, and that's the very first thing that needs to happen. Customer approaching us and saying that they want to do this project and providing more information on it, such as the drawings and so on. So Dennis covered a little bit about FIT projects, but I'll talk about some of the highlights on the microfit connection process. This applies to all the projects that applied before December 8th, and I'll tell you a little bit about the new microfit rules and how that applies to all the projects that applied on or after December 8th. So obviously the first step, as most of you know, is the customer registered with the OPA. At that point, the customer would apply to the OPA, they will submit their application, the OPA would review it, and at that point they will provide conditional offer if all the project requirements have been met. With that conditional offer, the customer would go to Enersource and say, I want to connect, and they will provide all the drawings, everything that is needed in order to proceed to offer to connect stage. Once we give offer to connect, what happens, the customer proceeds with the actual construction. At that point, the customer will also get the approvals from the ESA, and that's very crucial because with that ESA inspection, the Enersource will proceed with installing a bidirectional meter, and that's considered to be a connection point. At that point, we provide a connection notice to the OPA, and the OPA will look at that application, make sure everything is complete. They'll provide a contract offer. The customer will accept that contract offer, and the settlement and billing for that particular customer would commence. So let me talk about a little bit about the recent microfit rule changes that the OPA implemented. So it affects all the microfit applications that applied on or after December 8th. So what it means, the customer needs to obtain an offer connect from LDC, from a local utility, in this case it's Enersource, before they get, before the OPA issues a microfit conditional offer. So that's sort of reversed from all the other applications that applied before December 8th. So what the OPA is trying to do here is that ensure that these microfit projects can connect to the grid before they are offered a conditional offer. And according to the OPA, that's been considered as one of the critical things, because they found that microfit and FIT, interest in microfit and FIT program has been outpacing the upgrades required to some of the grid areas. All right, so quick overview of things that we need for moving a microfit project to a connection stage. For all projects that apply on or after December 8th, we need a capacity assessment. That's kind of similar to what we do for FIT projects, where we sort of look at the capacity on the distribution and transmission level. And obviously, transmission level thresholds are set by Hydro, and we use their information to give that assessment to our customers. We also do an initial feasibility assessment, and you can consider that sort of a way of us kind of knowing who you are, where you're trying to connect, and what's the size of your project. We also require electrical drawing and in the next slide I'll show you what I mean. And that sort of provides what kind of connection you're doing, you're connecting in parallel, what is the size of your project, what kind of inverters you're using, what kind of panels, where you're putting the service disconnect and so on. And also we need a connection agreement. That's basically operating agreement between Enersource and the customer, sort of sets out the rules of who does what. Once the project is done, the customer will obtain an ESA inspection. What ESA typically does is they issue a connection authorization that comes to Enersource, and that sort of gives us a green light to go ahead and install a generator meter for you. At that time, we'll provide a notice to the OPA, and after that comes the contract. So here's an example of like a template of a microfit electrical drawing, and this is sort of the information that we're looking for. You can see the existing load meter as well as the generator meter. Typically, we ask customers to use gang meter base, and we have a list of approved meter bases, which is also included in the drawing on the side, top right corner. You can see the service disconnect, and we also asked a fair bit of information on what kind of inverters you guys are using, what kind of solar panels. And the reason why we need this is because we'll take this to the OPA when we connect the project, and we're going to tell them, okay, these are the inverters, these are the solar panels, and so on. And that's actually included in the final microfit contract. And we typically provide this to our customers at the time that they approach us, saying that they have a contract, but they're ready to connect. And this is just one example of a microfit customer that has received their microfit contract. So you can see the solar panels on the roof. You can also see the multi-position meter base with the load meter and a generator meter and a service disconnect for the generation side. All right, so now I'll talk about a little bit about a FIT project, which is anything greater than 10 kilowatts. It's most, yeah. Yes.
Is there a charge for those services that you just described?
Charges for microfit projects, we don't really charge anything. I think the one major cost that comes from a utility point of view is the connection impact assessment. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's basically looking at the impact that connecting that generator unit has on the grid. So that's one cost. But in terms of metering at this point, we don't charge anything. I know some other utilities do. But I'll get to it in a second. All right, so for FIT projects, we currently have about 93 projects. And these projects can range anywhere from 50 to 500 kilowatts. They mostly fall into this capacity allocation exempt category. We have a few that are, sort of outside of that category. We currently have 15 projects that are pending approval. And when I mean pending approval, they're in the final stages. Dan briefly mentioned that the part of the process is that once the project completes all the impact studies, they're ready to proceed. So they submit something called notice to proceed to the OPA. So we have a couple of projects that are in that particular stage. We have one project that has applied for commercial operation date. So very soon, I think we're going to be able to see customers with actual FIT contracts. We have about 78 projects that are at the initial feasibility stage. So they're still in planning. So some of the things to watch out for in terms of the projects, FIT projects, is obviously the capacity assessment. And that's very similar to what we do for these new microfit projects, is that we look at the capacity on the distribution and the transmission feeders. Next stage is if there's available capacity, the customer can proceed to a design stage where they submit their plans to Enersource and ESA for approval. And this is the next stage, which is the connection impact study. And this is a study that all the utilities do on their distribution system. And also Hydro One will do a study of their own, because most of the utilities, in the Enersource case, we connect to Hydro One's system. And for your information, connection impact study that Enersource charges, it's $4,850. But that can vary between the different utilities. But that's available on our website. Yes.
What's the average time frame from start to finish for the application?
Typically, from the start to finish, some of the projects we've seen, they've been going probably 8 or 9 months, some even longer. But again, depends. One thing to watch out for is obviously the connection impact study. Right? there's a fair bit of information that all the utilities need in order to do those studies, and it's very important to have that complete package from the customer in order to proceed with the study. So in the past, we've seen some projects that they had incomplete information, and we were trying to get that info before we can actually get it completed. But I think we have about 8 or 9 projects that have completed the CIA, and they're now in the stage of next stage of the program. So next step is the notice to proceed, and this is where the customer submits all of their CIA results, both from Enersource and Hydro One, submit their domestic plan, the financial plan, and they go to the OP and say, I'm ready to proceed. I want to do the construct this project. At that point, I think it typically takes OP about 20 days or so. That's what we've seen with some projects. They'll come back and they'll approve it, and the customer now can start with the construction. Once the construction is done, the ESA will come on site. They'll inspect the installation, and if it's okay, they'll issue a connection authorization to Enersource, and to us, we take that connection authorization, grab the bidirectional meter, install it at the customer's site, and we notify the OPA. At the same time, the customer also needs to provide a commercial operation date application to the OPA, saying, I've completed everything, I had an independent review by an engineer, I've completed the connection, I want my contract. And this is where the OPA will again review that final package, and they will give that final contract offer. Yes?
Sir, in your list, where would you recommend applying for the OPA contract? After the capacity assessment or before?
Well, typically, all of the FIT projects, they have to, anyone interested in the FIT program, they have to apply to the OPA before they even get to the connection impact assessment.
Yes, definitely before the CIA, but would you do the capacity assessment before the application?
Actually, that's one of the things that Enersource needs to do, or the customer needs to provide to the OPA. So typically part of the application process is that the customer will come to Enersource and other utilities say, I want to do this project. In order to complete my application, I need to provide the feeder information, to which feeder am I connecting, to which transformer station, and whether there's a capacity on the distribution transmission level. And the customer will provide that, grab that feeder information, put in an application, and submit it to the OPA. So, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes?
Normally, how long does it take from the assessment to the contract, bid contract?
Oh, that's a good question.
Can you repeat the question?
She asked how long it takes from capacity assessment to actually getting a FIT contract. So, capacity assessment, what we do is we have a group of engineers that provide that information to the customer. Depending on the volume of how many requests we get for these capacity assessment, and sometimes it can be quite a big of a number. We have some customers that are doing multiple projects, 20 or 30 projects. So, but typically it takes about maybe a week to get that capacity assessment back to the customer. At that point, the customer can apply to the OPA. I'm not really sure about the timing, how long it takes the OPA to review that application, actually provide a contract. And again, that only applies to capacity allocation exempt projects. I know the OPA had some delays in terms of how long it took them to.
From the existing projects, do you have any average number?
It could take anywhere from, I would say, 2 to 3 months. 6. Is it? Okay, sorry. Yeah. 6 months? All right, so 6 months. All right, and this is just one example of a customer who's doing a FIT project. So obviously, most of the FIT project that we've seen, they're using a SATCON inverters. So that's quite common. And the last piece I just want to talk about briefly about, some of you might be familiar with the commercial FIT, which is a new stream in a feed-in tariff program. Hasn't been released yet, but it's in the works. And basically it's tailored for commercial entities that are interested in doing more than one microgeneration project, so that's 10 kilowatts or less. And it's also a response to people that are interested in leasing land or rooftops from individuals to do their own installation. Some of the key features is pricing, which is 71.3 cents per kilowatt for a solar rooftop, which kind of aligns with the solar projects that are 250 kilowatts or less. 44.3 cents per kilowatt for ground mount solar PV projects. And also there's provisions in a contract to allow lender to step in case if a supplier defaults to the lender. These projects, these commercial entities can only do one project per property. It has to be 10 kilowatts or less, and also incremental projects are not allowed, and in-series connection obviously is not allowed. And the OPA has said that the first application should be somewhere in, start receiving in mid-March. So I'll take questions after this, but in terms of if you have any other questions, after this, you can visit our website. There's a fair bit of information there. Or if you want to contact us at fit or microfit@enersource.com or give us a call. CFIT is more tailored for customers who are interested in, they don't own any properties, but they would like to put some solar panels, but if they decide to lease roof on, let's say, residential customers. So you can have a commercial entity that can say, in this street I want to do 10 projects. So you'll contact all the customers, say, would you be interested in leasing their roof? For fit projects, we currently don't have any that are more than 250. We do have actually 3 projects that are located on the same street, and it's one company doing it. And they're quite close to having it connected. We're actually just working at, in the next couple of days or weeks to have a bi-directional meter installed. So they're very close to getting their contract.